Previously on Luckyfish.
Lovely stuff.
We are currently moving right off the dock.
Stuck in the mud as usual.
We're about to get off. Thinking positive.
We're moving.
Here it's either you're in the mangroves or you're anchoring in 60 feet of water.
Belize is not a joke. You have to be really careful. I'm Zaya. I come from Mongolia and we have been sailing across the Atlantic Ocean and around the Caribbean for the last 5 years.
And I'm Stuart and I'm passionate about sailing and teaching sailing. And just recently our cruise expanded with the arrival of this little guy, Leo.
I'm Aryun and I recently joined the Luckyfish crew on board for the long term, and I'm so excited to learn all about sailing!
We pick up the story at Pelican Key, where the girls are doing their morning routine.
So today we're going to try to get out of this little key. It's a little bit of a weave, but the goal is to come kind of south. So if you look at the chart, here we are in the Pelican Keys. There are really two ways to do it. There's the difficult way, which is the way we came in yesterday, over a really narrow channel where the advice is if you do it wrong you end up on the reef. But we're going out down the south route, and basically we take a bearing off this fishing lodge up here, and it brings us down to a point where we're right in between No Name Key, the south end, and Camino Key. And we actually have a bearing for this point, so we set a waypoint down there, then we sneak across here out through below this brown bar, which apparently is quite visible, and then we start to turn down and find our way through these rocks, and then this takes us down and out of the way past Lagoon Key. Find our way down the Victoria Channel, which is good because the wind is still coming kind of from the north, so it'll blow us down. There's actually a half-knot current apparently, which is going to help us on our way. We come down here north of Moho Key, and then we're going to turn up towards Hatchet Key, which actually has now been developed into a resort, and there's a nice anchorage out there. So we decided we're going to stay inside the main reef just because the weather's a bit dodgy. So that's the plan for the day. The first thing is going to be figuring out exactly how we get out.
All ready for the day? What have you got there?
Ready for the day?
All the essentials, yeah? And how about you guys? All ready for the day?
Yeah!
Nice to see a bit of sunshine?
When you're sailing, it's important to keep an eye out on the different colors of the water. Based on that, you're able to tell what is underneath that. So in this case, we need to keep an eye out on some dark greens or dark blues, because those are most likely going to be coral reefs, and we really don't want to crash our boat into that.
Yeah. And then we're going to go through north of this island, which I think is more plausible. So, and it avoids the bar on the left and the bar on the right.
Point here is that it's south. You want to get past south. You want to go on the north side of South Key.
What's happening here?
Oh, well, it's really confusing, you know. We've got Navionics charts that are just simply not correct, with, you know, the wrong keys and missing keys. But we've got to go off the book. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
And the book doesn't have a very detailed grid, so we're having to sort of estimate where the position is, you know, where our position is in the book. We could do with, you know, dividers, parallel rule, pencil and a rubber at the moment, which we have on board, but I didn't really expect this.
putting some new hook on this lure. If I was fish, I would bite this.
Arrived about 4 in the afternoon. We can see the reef quite clearly. There's a marker just there. You just see it passing by. Moorings charter boat, a mono's just anchored in a very interesting place. It looks like they're going to be a bit bouncy tonight right off the tip of the reef. But we're going to go over there behind this reef in the foreground, about where that moorings catamaran is. It looks very calm over there.
Hatchet Key didn't offer much protection, but it was late, so we had little choice. No sooner did we get the anchor set, Ariun went in for a swim.
Whoa!
Ride him, cowboy!
Oh my god, this is so strong! Tim, you want to go in? It's nice and warm actually. That was so good though. The water's a little warm, it's not too cold, but the waves are pretty strong and it's just about to throw me off.
Time to come in now?
It's nice, yeah.
So it's 2 o'clock in the morning and the whole crew's up. We swung during the night. The winds clocked around a good, gosh, over 90 degrees. We're now in a southeasterly and our anchor's holding, but we've swung really close to the end of the jetty. We're watching the end of the jetty and 2 boats that are nearby. You can just see it there. There's a water slide right on the end, which is probably about, I don't know, 50 metres, 40 metres off of our port quarter. And Tim's there keeping a close eye on it. We've got the engine sleds down, ready to start the engines. We don't know, we might have crossed underneath an anchor of the monohull next to us, so we're a bit concerned about upping anchor and getting out of here, because we might dislodge his anchor if we do that, and then we'd be in all sorts of strife with 2 anchors tangled. What do you think about this, Zaya? Anything to say?
I don't think we are on top of his anchor.
Oh, okay, yeah.
If it was that direction, he would have said something.
Yeah.
When we dropped our anchor.
Yeah, so stand by, we're just going to keep an eye on things now.
I love this graphical plot of the wind speed and direction over the previous 60 minutes. There is so much information here about the behaviour of the wind.
So I'm just entering an alternative position for our anchor. We thought we had one spot marked, and now we figure it needs adjusting, so we're putting another spot in case we have to cut the anchor and come back to it later. Or this information is going to be useful if we are manoeuvring up to the anchor relative to the other boat. I mean, who knows what's going to go on, just to get a known point on the chart. So I'll just call this Hatchet Anchor 2. And enter and save this. So this looks like the spot here, pretty much in the centre of this quadrant that we've swung. Could well be in this area here. The other boat is actually off of our, where is he? Is he off the beam or? Yeah, he is. He's pretty much off our port beam, so he's sitting out there. He's sitting off our port side in here. And we don't know if his anchor is this side of our anchor, in which case we don't have a problem, or if his anchor is this side of our anchor, in which case he's probably over our chain. So the ideal would be that we're going to be fine through till daylight, and then we can talk to him and perhaps we both move out of here together. We'll have to wait and see. Well, morning, and that wind swung 180 all night, and we're now right on a lee shore. You can see the reef just behind us there. The water slide is just over there. And Ariun is about to get up and help us move away.
Feeling pretty tired after 2 eventful nights on anchor, we set out for a 10-mile sail west to South Long Coco Island, not realising what was waiting just around the corner.
Hello world!
I'm happy to be alive! Yeah.
You lost it?
It's on, honey. We're going to need to get the gas.
Well done, you. Beautiful
Lunch.
fish.
Bring the rum. So far, so good.
We'd safely dodged all the hazards and found our way into the west side of the island.
Stuck in the rock first time ever. I'm angry.
Feeling overconfident, I had pushed the boat in way too close over some shallow water, trying to anchor in a sandy area just ahead.
And really you just need a few turns on the winch, because the more rope you can winch in, the better, you know.
Suddenly we bumped some rocks at very slow speed, thankfully.
Honey, that can go to the winch on the spinnaker. That's it. Good.
And then came to a halt on another one. The boat then drifted around until it was perched on 3 or 4 rock heads sticking up out of a sandy seagrass bottom. Following a couple of attempts to get off, we moved our secondary anchor and chain aft and set up the bridle on the spinnaker winches.
We probably want slightly tighter on this one and
or maybe tighter on this one to pull the, to try and pull the stern out. No, well, I'll set the anchor now. So,
Yeah.
pass the anchor. There's a chain to come down the wood here would be nice.
Sure.
If you can,
Yeah.
It's not tangled, right?
Anything's possible. I just grabbed it. You want to sort it out first?
Yeah.
I then walked out the anchor to a deep sandy area where it would dig in deep and set.
Quite deep, soft sand there, so I think we'll have some purchase this time. Okay, you can pull in the slack on the chain here.
Maybe shorten the bridle.
Okay.
And then it was over to Tim and Zaya to try and kedge us off.
Yeah, it's nice and tightening.
Alright, so this all kind of happened when I was sleeping in the main cabin. It looks like we are very close to shore. We tried to come to somewhere where we can snorkel, and it looks like we basically got in between two big rocks, and now we're trying to move backwards so that we can just gently slide off from that little pile.
Alright, well maybe the two of you, or how's the starboard one? Is it like getting very, very hard? Okay, well maybe try both together then.
Or if that doesn't work out, it looks like they're thinking of waiting for the next high tide. Or if the weather gets a little gloomy like it was for the couple 2 days, we might get a little bit of a bouncy and rocky movement in the water, and that might be able to also get us moving from this place where we're stuck.
So that's interesting. So maybe I'll do the same on this side.
It feels like we want to now start to tense this one so that it pulls up.
I'll just lift the rudder up like this and
Yeah.
see.
When you lift it, let me know.
So right now we have put an anchor at the back, and we'll try to kind of use that anchor to move backwards, just a tad bit enough for us to slide down from that rock.
Feel the movement?
Join us for next week's video and find out how this mess turned out. Or, in a blatantly transparent move to encourage more of you regular viewers to support our videos, you can get early access by becoming a patron for just a few bucks a month. Your support would be hugely appreciated.
Sliding off the back of the,
Still too tight. If you liked our video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to our channel, and as always, a huge thanks to our patrons for making these videos possible. If you'd like to support us, we hope you consider becoming a patron and help us continue sharing our journey.